Hello, listeners of the future, rollers, one and all. Welcome back to another episode of Classing Up the Joint. This is the episode, part of the show, where we ask people. Oh, wait, I did it alphabetically and I think I was an L. We ask, lucid people, languid questions. I don't know. Trying for it. I am your host. My name is Colin. I use they and he pronouns. I am joined, as always, by fantastic, wonderful guests. I am so lucky and so excited to speak with, who I will let give an introduction.
Hello, my friends, and good morning. My name is Jes. You can find me all over the internet at Jes the Human, Jes with one S. I guess I'm most known for wishing people good morning in very weirdly specific ways, as well as using my skills in the fundraising realm to organize things in tabletop. Since 2021, I have helped raise over $455,000 for various organizations near and dear to my heart and many others. So that is me. Hello.
Jes, thank you so much for joining us. It is such a treat, especially as we know, in the middle of yet another busy cycle of doing 9 million things at once for all of us.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much. I am actually realizing there's a question that I usually start with that was not necessarily on the list I sent, but it is, how did you get started playing or DMing RPGs, as it might be? What was the thing that got its hooks into you earliest?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite questions
Oh, good.
because I have such a silly little origin story where I could have had the opportunity to start playing D&D when I was in middle school.
Mhm.
Two of the boys in my homeroom were like hunched over their desks and they were giggling, and I walked up and I was like, Dan, Nick, what are you guys doing? And they said, oh, Jes, we're playing D&D. You can be an elf. Do you want to play? And I said, no. And I walked away. And then we fast forward to 2019. My partner and I loved going and getting a little drink and then loitering around Target. Obviously, not our place of choice anymore, but at the time it was. And we always went to the game section. And I kept seeing the D&D starter kit. And after a few times, I was like, wouldn't it be kind of fun if we like played D&D? And he was like, okay, yeah, sure, but we don't know anyone who plays D&D. Like, we're not going to be able to learn it ourselves. And so I pestered everyone I knew. And finally, one of my rugby teammates, Jackie, said, Jes, I will be the dungeon master. I've played Pathfinder before, so I'm sure that it'll be easy enough to learn how to be the DM. And a few weeks later, on our rugby camping trip, we all played D&D, and there was a river in the background, and we played around campfire. We had one pair of dice.
Uh-huh.
She had forgotten to print out character sheets, so we all made our own.
Perfect.
We shared one book, and it was so much fun. We played The Mines of Phandelver, and when we got back, we finished that little, mini campaign, and it was so much fun. I loved it. And then 2 weeks later, I tore my ACL, and all I could do was sit on the couch.
Oh, wow.
And so I really threw myself into D&D.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What a honestly, kind of what a perfect first game, really, to be in the woods at a fire, one set of dice, and no character sheets.
Whoa, Colin. I drew
Handmade.
my character sheet. It was beautiful. It was
excuse me.
handmade. I put a little picture of my character, like I drew a picture of my character in the middle of my sheet and then drew the sheet around her.
Perfect.
It was very nice.
Outstanding. I was subbing. I DM'd for kids, and a friend of mine was out, so had his elementary school kids, and one of them was that kind of player, that kind of kid that was like, "Do you have our sheets? What are we gonna do? Okay, I'm just gonna remake mine. Do you have some scratch paper?" And like, spent the next 10 minutes just painstakingly recreating every moment of his sheet. And actually, I think he also had this like little wizard's hat just right in the center, constructing everything around it.
Oh, I love that.
Um,
That's kids are so much
yeah,
fun. I've never played with children, but I've seen some like games of children playing, and their creativity is just unmatched.
yeah,
Like it's incredible.
yeah, yeah. And children and new players who don't necessarily know the rules yet, I think always are just like, can I do X, Y, or Z utterly unhinged thing? And like, yeah, yes, I would love for you to do that, please. Um, Amazing. Uh, so how the largest question that I have is like how did that introduction lead to your kind of your current role? And I would label your current role as kind of like one of the most well-known and prominent fundraisers in our space. Um, and I think maybe that is connected to like this is something that you do for work as well. So uh, maybe my question first is like, uh, as a professional fundraiser of sorts, how did you start doing that?
Yeah. Well, my undergraduate degree is in telecommunications, sales and promotion track specifically. And then
Hmm.
I had three minors because I just couldn't choose one. And I always thought that I wanted to move out to California to work on movies.
Hmm.
And then I realized that I did not want to do that. I did not like some of my TCOM classes, and I figured that I enjoyed doing the talking thing.
Hmm.
And so I remember one of my professors said that a lot of TCOM students end up going into nonprofit. And I had been involved in Key Club in high school, and I had really enjoyed that. I was involved in student voluntary services, but I didn't know that that's what I was going to do.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think until my like junior or senior year, I was working for the Boys and Girls Club, and I loved what I was doing. I was working on a lot of events for them. I was running their
Hmm.
social media to the local club, and I really fell in love with it. And I think that that is when I decided that I was going to make a career out of
Yeah.
doing this. I wasn't necessarily fundraising at the time,
Sure.
but my first job out of grad school was to be a fundraiser for an organization. And it takes a very certain type of person to be able to reach out your hand and say, please give me money.
Yeah, it really does. I worked for a nonprofit a little bit myself, and I think that was one of the hardest things, and that it's in kind of a continuous, ongoing cycle.
It never
Um,
stops. Your organization always needs money.
yes, yes, and you and frequently from the same people just need to
Yeah.
keep giving. Yeah, it's I one kind of want to commend you on having the fortitude and the skills to do that because it really got to me after 2 years that I was sending the same letter with slightly different wording to the same addresses for the fourth time that year. Um, yeah, I also I'm slightly curious if you know what is the what is the for-profit sphere that TCOM majors would go into?
Uh,
If like a lot of them just start leaving and drifting towards nonprofit in droves.
So I would probably say like actually working on movies or
Okay.
TV or radio because telecommunications like that is what you're supposed to end up doing. I
Uh-huh.
think probably a lot of folks end up working for like nonprofit radio stations or
Cool.
nonprofit
Okay.
TV shows or TV stations, I should say.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily think that I went the traditional route that my professor was suggesting I would probably take. I think I went a couple leaps and bounds away.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I learned so much in how to market that I just used it as a transferable skill to market myself and then to
Mhm.
market the organization that I work with. Where, yeah, sure, I'm not, using some of the law stuff for TCOM that
Sure.
I learned, but it all worked out in the
Yeah.
end and it all got me to the place where I am now. So
Yeah. And like now what is your day-to-day kind of similar to the fundraising that you're doing within the TTRPG community? And do you get to I guess as much as you feel like sharing about that aspect of your life, like, do you also get to champion and fight for money for the same or similar causes?
It is very different. It is
Okay.
so different. I would say that the work that I do in the TTRPG space is a little bit more probably fulfilling and
Mm.
also fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I work for a theater in major giving, which means that I ask rich, old, sometimes not left leaning, sometimes
Uh-huh.
right leaning people for money. And I am queer, trans, non binary. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily every person's cup of tea when it comes
Sure.
to that. And so it's a little difficult sometimes working with them. But the work that I support on stage and the work that I support that we do in the community is
Mm-hmm.
incredibly amazing. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't, well, maybe I
And
would, depending on the right role, depending on the right
sure.
organization. But when we look at the work that I do in the TTRPG space, I'm putting on at least one TTRPG charity stream per month. I'm collecting and hosting multiple bundles per year. And
Mm-hmm.
I get to touch so many different organizations
Yeah.
that I personally feel the need to champion. And so it's hard to compare the two when they're so vastly different.
Sure. Sure. What they are, I would put it maybe that, like, they are very related and connected in the content maybe, but that the day job is the job that pays the bills, and then there's the labor of love that you get, maybe much more personal satisfaction and reward out of, rather than
Absolutely.
financial.
Yes.
Someday we'll live in a place where all you need is the validation and the good feels and less of the financial compensation.
Can't wait
Um,
to eat a bowl of cereal that is just validation and good feels.
oh God. I mean, I want that brand for breakfast.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How from playing that first game of D&D in 2019 to where you are now, how did you get to use all these skills that you've acquired and that you're using for your job and start the fundraising work that you're doing within the RPG community?
Yeah. So pretty soon after I started playing D&D, I found D&D Twitter and I was like, whoa, there are
Hmm.
people who also have this hyper fixation. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And then I learned that there's more D&D than D&D.
Hmm.
TTRPGs as a whole, that was very cool. I think one of my first TTRPGs that I played that wasn't D&D was Crash Pandas, which it's by Grant Howitt, one
Uh-huh.
pager.
Yep. Okay.
I played Thirsty Sword Lesbians and probably Monster of the Week. Those were probably my like first three that weren't D&D. I remember seeing my first TTRPG charity stream and I was like, whoa, you're telling me that the two things I love can be used in tandem?
Hmm.
That's fucking cool. I had a couple friends at the time that were doing their own TTRPG charity streams, and I got to be on a few of them. And I was like, this is kind of cool. I could see
Uh-huh.
myself doing this more often. I know that I told you that I work for a theater, but I do not have a theater background.
Hmm.
And so performing live for other people to watch me do a thing is not
Yeah.
necessarily something that I was super comfortable with. But eventually, you just put it in your mind that I'm just playing a game and there happen to be
Yeah.
people that are watching. And maybe not, depending on how big the channel is, not that
Totally.
many people are watching, and that kind of takes the pressure off. So I think it was 21 is when I was starting to get into Twitch streaming, just video games.
Hmm.
And also, I wanted to do some sort of stream to support an organization that I cared about. And so I started reaching out to folks to see if they could help me do a D&D charity stream because I was brand new to streaming at the
Hmm.
time. I didn't know what I was doing. I certainly didn't know how to do anything in regards to TTRPG charity streams. And so I had some pals help me out and we raised like $500.
Hmm.
It was super cool. Fast forward, I think I did a handful maybe for someone else's birthday that year, but it wasn't until 2022 when I started doing them regularly. It was when abortion rights were under attack in the United States. I think it was in
I mean,
July.
horrifyingly, when are they not? But in that
Truly.
specific, yes, that summer.
Yes. And so I hosted, I think it was 5 or 6 games over a weekend. And it was for National Abortion Federation. And we raised just under $1,700. And I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm doing this more often. And
Cool.
a couple months later, I started doing it every single month. And besides a few that the like people had to drop out very last minute and I was like, oh, we're not going to do a charity stream with 3 people. I've done one every single month
Hmm.
since the fall of 2022.
Wow. I commitment to the bit. Amazing
Yes.
commitment to the bit. Yeah, that's I I I know how difficult it is to organize things monthly that also need to be organized several months ahead of time to get people locked in. That is honestly, that is such an accomplishment. So you were not asking or looking for validation from me, I think, but like I want to tell you, I think that's so cool.
Let me
Um,
just eat that as my bowl of cereal. Thank you.
mhm, absolutely. Um,
Would you mind really quick? The sun is
yes,
sunning.
absolutely. It is very stunning. I was like, that is
Yeah.
directly in your eyeballs. Of
Yeah.
course.
Oh my gosh.
We have to be comfortable. How can we not? I can just like see the slight change in sunbeam angle. That looks much more comfortable.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you.
Um, yeah. I think I want to ask this question, then maybe sort of use the upcoming bundle to ask you a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes. But one of the things that I know from fundraising, both the little bit that I get to do for the Roll Report and from working in nonprofits, it's hard to get people to cough up money, always, for any number of reasons, whether it's their own discretionary income, concerns about whatever cause you're funding, concerns about the organization you might be fundraising for. But I feel like one of the things that I've noticed is the overall and rather overwhelming success of the games that you're able to run, and honestly it sounds like your own work outside of that as well. And I'm curious if you can very efficiently and very consistently raise nice amounts of money for all the things, and if you have a secret to your success that you can share or would like to share in that way,
Ah, gosh.
or
um,
or insight and suspicion as to why.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of factors. One of the biggest ones, I'm going to give a shout out to Tom over at Bogus Cheesecake. He donates a matching gift every
Mm.
single month.
Hmm.
It's $250, and that is a big, big help. So thank you so much, Tom. You're the best.
Thank you,
Um,
Tom. I don't
and
know you, but
so
thank you anyway.
people love knowing that their money is going twice as far.
Hmm.
I have definitely seen an increase, and Tom and I have actually talked about it because at first it was $100 and then it was $250. And we kind of looked to see if it was helping move the needle at all on the fundraising. And it absolutely is.
Hmm.
If I'm ending a charity stream and we're like 25, 30, $40 away from hitting that matching gift, someone will typically go in and say, no way that we're not going to hit that. And they'll
Hmm.
donate that amount. So
Yeah.
even if it's $50, I mean, people just love it. People
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I think another thing is the amount of time that I've been doing this. Like, people know it's coming every single
Mm-hmm.
month.
Yeah.
People love repetition. People love being able to know that it's coming, that it's in their calendar, that they can always rely on it. I think that that's another big reason. And I think because I try to not have the same recurring cast,
Right.
I'm able to pull in different communities every single time. So person A, B, and C might be giving us audience that hasn't been asked for money in the past couple months.
Sure.
And so I think it's a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
And that's just specifically for the TTRPG charity streams. For the bundles, there are losers on Reddit that are like, $10 for 300 games. I already have most of them. And it's like, motherfucker, it
No,
is $10.
yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on.
That comment gets zero of my sympathy or empathy. Like, really, dude, come on.
Yeah, like you're literally getting a really cool game because most of the big bundles have a game like Fist or I, oh my God, I'm blanking on literally any of them. But like Fist is always
Yeah.
in the charity bundles, and that's like a $20 or $25 game.
Yeah.
Like, you're not being asked to give that much money. And I think that most people are reasonable and they're like, I'm supporting a really incredible cause, and I'm
Hmm.
also getting at least 100 new games that I don't already have.
I was gonna say, like, just the library of games is so vast. You're paying $10, and I would bet every single person who ever buys the bundle, even if they do it over and over again, is getting at least 10 new games. So $1 a game every month.
Well, so there is a website, and I can't remember what it's called,
Mm,
but someone who's connected to the trans rights bundles
hmm.
that go live every end of March. They've at least, I can't remember if they created it or if they showed me it, but there is a website that kind of cross references all of the bigger bundles to see how many new games are involved in them.
Hmm.
So I don't
Well,
know.
that's
That's just
that's really cool. If we find it later, we'll drop it in the show notes so people and or I will take a look. That is, yeah, that's so cool.
right.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm just like the people having weird feelings about the value proposition of getting new games for $1 a game is such an odd, uniquely human trait to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an annoying one, but hey, say la vie.
Well, and people line up for free shit that they don't need all the time. I worked a holiday tech company party. We were running games, doing things, and there was a giveaway. And all these people attending this party make 6 or 7 figures. They can all buy these things. And the giveaway that they had to complete several activities and stand in line for, the only line at this event, and it was for a Bluetooth speaker that looks slightly like a phonograph, like not really, but kind of, a lava lamp, and like some little tchotchke toy coffee table decoration situation. It was like,
In their defense, Colin, for the first and last couldn't be me for a lava lamp, depending on how cool it looked. Maybe.
see, and it's good to know you're like, okay, a 20-minute line for a lava lamp, I do. 30 minutes, now we're not. Okay.
Mm,
I think everyone needs to find those lines, whether they're time you would spend on a thing or money you would spend on a thing. So I want to talk about the upcoming bundles, which I think maybe is. Do you want to give me like the quick overview of what is coming up most imminently, which I believe would be the bundle for Minnesota?
mhm.
Maybe a little bit about what's in it and how you go about throwing one together as quickly or in response to current events, as opposed to kind of a planned months out. sort
Yeah,
of thing.
absolutely. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have to ask you to repeat part of that question at the
Sure,
end.
sure.
Uh,
No worries.
but we have the No Ice in Minnesota bundle that by the time you are listening to this, future listeners, it had launched on February 9th. Given that all of my praying and emailing and prodding and poking has worked,
Yeah.
I think that it's going to, but who knows, you know? So the No Ice in Minnesota bundle is being hosted on Itch.io, which, if you're not familiar with, is an indie developer platform for you to post games and books and quite literally whatever you want. This particular bundle is supporting Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, and the bundle was created in response to just the atrocities being committed by ICE.
Yeah.
Uh, that's
Yeah. And
there's not much else to say about
no, I
that.
no, it's I'm again, I'm so happy that you have the resources and connections after years to do that and do it so quickly. And so that was kind of the second part of my question is if your process is different or how you're able to kind of get something together so quickly and respond to current events as opposed to the scheduled streams or bundles that are like, I know this is going to happen every March, this is going to happen every June, and being able to plan ahead, but being like, this is happening right now horribly and I need to do something about it.
Yeah,
What is the how do you get from that thought to I got a bundle of games coming out to support the Immigrant Law Center in Minnesota tomorrow?
yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you, Colin. This is the fastest that I've ever been able to put an Itch.io bundle
Congratulations
together. Thank
and
you.
thank you.
There are a lot of factors that go into that. The first being connecting with a nonprofit.
Hmm.
You can't start, you can start creating a bundle without the nonprofit, but in order to get it to the bundle portion, you have to have a nonprofit onboarded onto Itch.io, meaning that they've
Mm.
created a profile, they've put in their tax information, they've put in their payout information because 2+ years ago, they let you do it kind of willy nilly.
Hmm.
And there were organizations that didn't get their funding on time, and that
Mm.
there was just a
Hmm.
big hubbub.
Yeah.
I started right after that with TTRPGs for Palestine, but it took me months to connect with Itch.io through no fault of my own. I practically begged them in their Discord and via email. You laugh. No, I literally
I no,
typed.
I believe you. I laugh at just the ridiculousness of what is layers of bureaucracy when you're like, no, no, I'm trying to give you money. I would like to give you money. Can you please tell me how to give you money? And they're like, give me 6 months.
Yeah, it was sucky. So
Yeah.
actually, my first ETRPG bundle that I put together was on Tiltify, which
Mm.
is not a game platform. I created this big, huge Google sheet, and I was really paranoid that people were gonna like buy it and then share it with a bunch of people. So I put so many protections on it, and it took just so much extra time.
Hmm.
And then I think it was literally like 2 to 3 weeks after the Tiltify bundle ended, Itch.io was like, hey. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Oh
Are
no,
you
I'm so
serious?
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh
But hey,
God.
you know what? It happened.
Yeah.
We were able to raise like $33,000 for Palestine Children's Relief Fund through Tiltify. And then we raised like $201,000 for medical aid for Palestinians for the Itch.io charity bundle. And so it
Hmm.
all worked out. You know, we were able to
Sure.
raise more money, which was great. To
Yeah.
veer me back on track, yikes, I went down a rabbit hole. Sometimes connecting with a nonprofit can be really, really difficult,
Hmm.
especially if there is some sort of disaster that is going on, and that is the cause of you making that charity bundle. As a nonprofit professional, I can put the hat on to me and I can see it both ways. Like
Sure.
this fundraising professional that I am reaching out to is so underwater and feels so much pressure to get that they're getting a phone call or an email from someone who says that they want to do that, but it kind of sounds like a scam. Like
Yeah.
I'm the person saying these words out loud and I'm like, "Oh my God, I hope they believe me because like this sounds so scammy." Like I hate that.
Yeah.
But there's also like I've looked at the words that I physically say out loud and that I type via emails and like there's no better way to say it.
I I wouldn't imagine so because it is kind of an insane idea. I guess I wonder if that change has changed at all now that you have numbers to back it up.
So
I would imagine that the email is like, hey, I would like to do this for you. By the way, here's who I am. I've raised over $400,000 for various causes in the last 4 years.
well, so yes and
Okay.
no. I think that like, even if I were to type just the first part out, like the hi, I'm Jess, and since 2021, I've raised $455,000 for causes, like anyone can say that. What
Sure.
I do instead now is I link the past bundles to
Mm.
say, this is what I want to do for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, I remember I was sitting on the couch with my partner and the development professional emailed me back and I was like, oh my God, it's been 5 days. Holy shit. This is incredible.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And he was like, what? And I was like, they never get back to me this fast. Like I'm usually like
Yeah.
sweating near the end of the game jam. Like, oh my God, I hope that someone gets back to me because like I
Yeah.
can't move on to the next step. So it was incredible. I was so thankful that Sarah at the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota got back to me so quickly. And
Yeah.
so that's one piece of why it takes so long. And then the next piece is Itch.io. They
Mm.
have small staff, and charity bundles aren't necessarily their top priority because
Sure.
if you do it right, they actually don't make any money
Yeah.
off of those.
Yeah. I mean,
And so,
as it should be, I would argue. They might argue otherwise, but they're not the point in this case. Yeah.
yeah. So I try as soon as I get the organization on board, I give them everything. I say, here's the organization, here's the bundle jam URL, here's the charity bundle URL.
Mm-hmm.
I want everything moved on this date. So then my approval period can end on this date. So you can prune people on that date so it can go live on that date.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that I work with is always like, okay, we can do that, but also give us a reminder. And so it's
Yep.
just like, I try to be as upfront as possible so they know my
Yeah.
deadlines. And so getting this together in 33 days, it was a lot, but it happened and I'm happy
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there, as you're putting this No Ice in Minnesota bundle together, are there particular games or creators that you reached out to that you're really interested in having their games? I believe if I remember, I saw at least one just open call. Please, if you have a game you'd like, tell me and send it to me here. But were there also specific people or games that you were really hoping to include?
I did not this time, actually, which is
Okay.
wild because this got the most gaming submissions to any bundle I've put together.
Wow.
There were over 1,500 games that were submitted by
Jesus.
760 different creators. Some of them weren't games or used AI. And so I
Okay.
felt really, really bad about the ones that weren't games, but I was very specific like, this is a game bundle.
Yeah.
There were some books, there were some poems and stuff. I have heard that maybe some book people want to create a book bundle, which is incredible. And I hope
That
that
would
they
be
do that.
awesome. Yeah.
But I felt really bad taking them out of the bundle. But
You're like, you sent me some AI garbage. I have no compunction about just ripping that out here. But this
oh, yeah.
book that you worked, it's just not the right time, not the
Yeah.
right bundle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I do
Yeah,
a
for
general
sure.
bundle, though,
Hmm.
that would be a great thing for that. And I've never actually considered doing a general bundle, but now that there were quite a handful of books that got thrown in,
Yeah.
I might consider that in the future.
Yeah. Incredible. Hello, rollers! It is I, your host, debatably friendly DM, and other things, Colin, here to welcome you to the mid-roll. Thank you for listening, and we hope you are enjoying this episode so far. This is your periodic interruption, brief as it may be, to remind you that The Roll Report is on many social media platforms. You can find us around the interwebs at The Roll Report Cast, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Blue Sky. We don't do the other thing. We don't talk about the artist formerly known as Twitter. But you can follow us there for news and announcements, special clips from the interviews you may not have seen, and learn about who we're going to interview next. Because if you are very intrigued and curious about upcoming interview guests, if you head on over to patreon.com/The Roll Report and give us a single dollar, you can submit questions for our interviews, and only you and only our other supporters on Patreon will hear the answers. That's right, special Patreon-only Q&As with interview guests if you support us there and if you send us questions. Thank you so much for listening. Back to the show. Enjoy! I think I'm curious about well, you've already, I was going to say the step by step, but we've already kind of gotten that. I'm still in this, like, I'm awake and I'm wrenching my brain into
you're
the
so
right sort
fine.
of grooves to try to figure this out. Is there? I think that something to me about the amount of submissions that you're getting for this speaks to our current moment and the fact that the people that you're able to reach deeply care about what's happening. And I think I'm curious if that feels hopeful or if that is still just like everything is terrible. I guess it's nice that these people want to help, but everything. That wasn't actually a fully phrased question, but that's if that made
No,
any
you're
sense at
fine.
all. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really cool being able to mobilize so many people so
Yeah.
quickly. It also can be a little bit overwhelming. I am just one person. And so one of the things that I didn't talk about is the approval
Mm.
process.
Yeah.
So when you use a game jam to collect your games that you're going to put into a charity bundle, you then take the game jam, Itch.io takes those entries and puts them into the bundle, but then every person who submitted something has to approve that. And so
Oh.
getting 670 people to click
Yeah.
approve is a lot. I'm looking at my bundle page that I'm waiting currently for Itch.io to prune.
Uh-huh.
I've sent my email. There are 19 people that still haven't approved the bundle. If those 19 people approved the bundle, I wouldn't have to wait on Itch.io to prune
Right.
because it would just be ready to start tomorrow
Right.
morning.
19 out of 600 is a pretty solid ratio, though, of
It
people
is.
that have clicked the approve button.
Well, if you don't get a high enough amount to approve their submissions, you have to create a new bundle and go through the approval process over
Oh my
again.
God.
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know what that number is, what that percentage is, and I hope that I never figure it out.
Yeah. Very same.
There was a time, though, it was probably like Monday or Tuesday with a Friday approve your bundle submissions by Friday deadline. So like 4 days where it was like 90 people. And I was like, I hope this isn't the number. I hope
Yeah.
this isn't the percentage. And so to rewind a little bit, like it's a lot of pressure to mobilize these people even further than they've already been mobilized. I can send them emails via the Itch.io
Right.
interface. I can reach out to them on socials. I can put something onto their games, but like that takes a lot of time to be able to
Mm-hmm.
go and do that individually. But it also is like, is this going to make a difference? Are they going to
Sure.
see this? Because you can reach out in many different ways on many different days, and they can still say, I didn't see it. Sorry.
I think this is the curse of the sheer number of different ways there are to communicate with people in our current age. Like, I don't even know which platform you would prefer that I use, but I guess I must use all of them.
Hmm.
Um, you mentioned the approval process, and I think also, do you have to kind of cull from that 1,500 submissions down to 600? Is that you just kind of line by line going through the things that people have given you and finding the books, finding the AI slop, and
So it's yes. So I go through, I try if I have time to go through as things get submitted.
Mhm.
This particular time, over 150 games were submitted in the last 24 hours of the game jam.
Jesus.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, it was super
that's
cool, but it
the
was also
response is
like,
great, but the sheer amount.
yeah, I was literally like, fuck, I'm working today. What's going on? Um,
Uh-huh.
and so there were technically, I think there were 740 or so people who joined the jam, but only like 670 who actually submitted
Right.
the over 1,500 games. I want to say I disqualified probably like 25 for either being not a game or using AI. Of course, I always say that with a caveat because I'm just one person doing my
Yeah.
best. Hopefully, I caught everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, I would just say in part to that last thing, like, I think maybe more than any, or at least most people, I feel like you have certainly earned the, like, you are operating in good faith assumption. I, you know, I dabble, I poke around, and I don't think I've ever seen anything that makes me question, um, uh, wow, I was like, I headed down this thought and was like, I can't tell if this is about to sound really insulting, and I really don't mean it this way, but like, I truly think that I've never seen you be your online self, which is the self that I'm most familiar with, be anything less than genuine and well intentioned.
Well,
Um,
thank you. I
I'm
appreciate
I'm
that. I
glad
don't.
that came out that way and not as like me over here who've never met you judging your online persona. Um,
Well, I mean, I guess I'm taking it in the way as like there are some people, and I'm not bagging on them, but like
mm,
some people, if they're like real life, what they're like, and their like online persona are not the same. And
mhm.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't have enough energy to make two different personas. I am doing the best I have,
Eh,
or the best I can with what I have. And you,
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
energy that I have, yeah, it's concentrated, and
I think
that's
right now I'm also just getting a nice little. I think I'll have a nice mental association of your good mornings. I can be like, oh, I can just imagine Jess actually saying that this morning, and probably that did in fact happen, and it just gives me so much joy.
oh,
Um,
okay. Well, don't do that because some of them, some
okay,
of the
fair
good
enough.
mornings are about me. Some of them are about my friends, and some of them I'm like, you know what? I bet that a lot of people this is going to resonate with. Sometimes I wake up and I choose violence. You know,
I
it's
mean, it really it does seem to be a really nice way to give everyone something fun every day. And it's again one of these things that I'm like making a habit, making consistency out of it to me shows a lot of how much you care about the community. Because as much as the social media word is literally anyone in the world who can see this good morning post, but also it is targeted. It is meant for people that are gonna get the joke or that are gonna see it and like smile and maybe go about their day a little bit more excitedly.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of pressure. Sometimes people are like, I haven't gotten one of these in a month, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm
I
sorry.
I don't know if you're at all a Bob's Burgers fan, but I think about like the episode where he's like, it's so much pressure trying to come up with the burger of the day. And you're like,
Hmm.
actually, a daily practice is really hard, a daily creative practice.
Literally, sometimes I sit in that chair that you can see right there,
Hmm.
and I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Some people are like, well, don't you have a list that you just have going? And I'm like, yeah, sometimes, but also January and the start of February are very down on creativity. I've got no
Hmm.
juice. So I literally just have to create some of these things on the fly
Hmm.
because I'm not in a creative
Yeah.
space where I can just bust out some, okay, I think that I'm going to do this one tomorrow and this one seems good for Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, I want to, ask like a little bit broader questions again, I think, and thank you for letting me peek behind the curtain of the No Ice in Minnesota bundle, which we will have links for and all the things, and you should definitely be going to support it.
Hell yeah.
As if I needed to say that, but I should. Um, I feel like the RPG community shows up in a pretty big way, as far as I have seen, for what the mainstream, what most of the world calls like very left-leaning causes, supporting Palestine, getting ICE out of Minnesota, and supporting immigration, abortion rights, trans rights. Um, do these? I think I'm gonna make the assumption and statement that I don't think is unreasonable. These are very important to you, and it seems like this is something that really resonates with the broader RPG community. And um, if if I have a question here, I think it's like, is like, does that track with your experience that like these are important to the community at large? And do you want to weigh in on like opine why that might be?
I think that the answer is yes and no.
Mm,
Um, I have had charity streams where people had that were specifically for the Trevor Project,
hmm.
where people have shown up and bitched and complained about pronouns and said transphobic stuff. And then, after a couple timeouts, I was like, you know what? We're just gonna ban you. Why?
Hmm.
Why am I doing the
Yeah.
diplomatic thing when I don't have to? Because when I'm on the charity stream, not only am I producing it, but I'm also looking at the chat. I'm also looking at the donations, and I'm also playing. So like, why give them more
This is
time?
just the most multitask code switching experience I can almost imagine. It's just really impressive.
Thank you. And so some people don't. They will,
Mm,
and I guess I don't know if they're showing up to be haters because they're haters. I don't know if they're showing up because they like TTRPGs, but then they realized what we're supporting. I think that there is, for the most part, a really good separation of
mm.
like left leaning and right leaning TTRPG spaces, and they don't cross over that much. And
They
I'm
really
really
don't.
fucking thankful for that. Thank you, algorithm. I don't
Yeah.
thank you enough sometimes. You do the Lord's work by giving me heated rivalry, everything on all of my platforms. Thank you for
Uh-huh.
that, first and foremost.
Uh-huh.
Secondly, thank you for splitting up these two different camps
Yeah.
because they don't when there is crossover, it's like, Jesus Christ, what do you mean you guys don't do session zeros? What do you mean that you don't feel bad when you kill goblins for fun? Like,
Yeah.
what? Like,
Yeah.
so I guess when you stick in the space that is
Sure.
created and made for you, it's easy to have people and community members who support what you support because you're already in a like mind.
Hmm. Yeah.
Does that answer the question fully?
Yeah, no, no, for sure. And I think it's something that kind of I've talked about with people before, that the RPG community is vast and does include a lot of people, and you really kind of self-select which part of it you're most interested in playing with, I guess.
Hmm.
Um yeah. which now I'm like, is there the cause that would bring all of these disparate groups together? I
St.
don't know
Jude.
what it is.
I think it's St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Yeah. Okay.
Because how can you not care about kids who have pediatric diseases and cancer? You'd have to be
Honestly,
pretty fucking shitty.
honestly, that is kind of how I had the first productive conversation with my mother about Palestine I've literally ever had, was talking about children. I was like, can we just
Hmm.
and had to let her sit in her own. My mom is a little bit Zionist, mostly in the sense that she believes in Israel's right to exist as a country and a homeland for Jews. Fine. But like really getting her to have this the moment of cognitive dissonance of like the actions of the Israeli government and what my generation, our generation, sees on the news. Anyway,
Yeah.
not to go too far down that, but
No, no,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah,
I think there's also an interesting thing, and I don't know if other people view this, but like I started D&D Twitter around the end of 2019, and
hmm,
I remember there were a lot of people that also started around that time, and I view us as like a cohort, which
yeah,
sounds so silly to say. This is not like academia, but like I see them and I'm like, you know what, we might not have talked in a really long time, we might not have played in a really long time, but I see you and I'm rooting for your success and this is
yeah,
awesome. Like, and of course I do that with people that are not in that like cohort,
sure.
but you stick with a group of people and you see them moving along, and it's really really neat, and it makes me
Yeah.
think of like the other cohorts that are forming, because
Hmm.
a lot of us left Twitter or have abandoned Twitter for obvious reasons, and now people are on Blue Sky or they're on Threads or they're trying to do both, and I don't know, it's just there are so many different sectors and it's a lot more difficult to pin down one
Hmm.
TTRPG community because it's
Yeah.
spread out in so many different places. And there are people that are just on TikTok, and
Hmm.
that's the only place that they exist on the
Yeah.
internet, but they're still part of that D&D community.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's vast, it's wild, it's
Yeah.
weird, it's cool.
And it's really gone worldwide. And I think one of the other things to me that's really cool, maybe about the algorithm, maybe we can offer it a little bit more praise, but that I've been able to connect with people that are excited about D&D from Europe and South America and Southeast Asia and like places that I never thought I would have someone living halfway across the world from me sit down for 90 minutes and have like a really great conversation that we then put on the internet for the world to consume. Um, and if I have a question that's tied to that, I think I'm curious if you know, or if you have the back end data hiding somewhere of like how many people. My sense, and you please correct me, like I think a lot of the work that you do is focused on charities that are with the exception of Palestine, more operating within the US. And if you've noticed, if like the worldwide community still shows up for the streams, shows up and like throws some amount of money in there, because I have felt like there is this, the little intangible web of connection. We all play the same games. We all want to see each other succeed. And on some level, we're a lot of empathetic, caring people that care about stuff that is happening in other parts in the world.
Hmm. You know, I don't know.
Okay.
Um,
Totally fair. I'm like,
I
yes, please reach into the back brain and pull out those statistics you maybe looked at once for me.
Yeah, so I've done some ones that are some charity streams and some bundles, like I mentioned earlier, that were specific to Palestine organizations like Palestine Children's Relief Fund and Medical Aid for Palestinians. But something that I have switched to, I guess, in the last year or so is supporting Doctors Without Borders regularly, as well
Hmm.
as Project Hope, because not only are they helping Palestine, but also Congo and Sudan and other disasters and conflicts
Hmm.
that are arising. And so it's It's interesting being a person who wants to help and do as much good as I can,
Yeah.
knowing that I only have so much energy that I can put out into the world. And so if I'm supporting these causes who are doing their best to support everything that's popping up, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm doing my part in that
Yeah.
way. Obviously, as with the No Ice in Minnesota charity bundle, I decided in early January that I did have the time and efforts and
Yeah.
energies that I could put behind that. And so I'm the type of person who I map out what my entire 12 months is going to look like, the organizations I'm going to support during which month.
Hmm.
Am I going to do two birthday charity streams in April, or am I going to do three? Am I going to do two streams in October because spooky season is my favorite, only bested by my birthday? Or am I going to do three?
Yeah.
When do I think the best time for a bundle is going to be? And now, while I map it out and do great, really granular in that, I also leave space for if there is something that arises
Hmm.
that I have the energy for and that I can really focus on, depending on what I have going on in my personal life and all of the
Sure.
things. I don't remember what the first question was. I feel like I
Honestly,
just
I'm
rambled a little.
I'm kind of lost at myself, but I think it was answered either way. It was if you had any sense of if the larger worldwide community shows up for U.S. specific causes, or
Ah,
maybe the converse is if the U.S. based community shows up for causes for Palestine or for Doctors Without Borders, the more worldwide things.
okay.
But it sounds like
Yes.
that might be like I need to look into my back end a little more. Um,
Well, I actually
I don't know.
wouldn't be able to look into the back end too much,
Mm,
just because I get to see email addresses for
gotcha.
Tiltify donations. Sometimes I get to see a username associated, but not too often. I do know that there are quite a handful of UK based creators
Hmm.
and European based creators that have joined the No Ice in Minnesota. One specifically posted in the game jam, supporting from Italy. So that was really
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I do see a lot of US based folks showing up for the Doctors Without Borders and the Project Hope stuff. And this one's really hard because you never know what the deciding factors are. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes, like a conflict TTRPG charity stream doesn't do as good. And I'm like, is it because I was specifically talking about Palestine? And
Hmm.
I am saying this not because I think this. I want to preface that.
Sure.
But some people are over supporting Palestine, which really fucking sucks. Because the last time I checked, there's still a genocide going on.
Yeah. I think the conflict burnout is real, and I think uh, I've noticed, and I've said here and there a couple times, I feel like the information age, or perhaps the disinformation age, as we are now in, uh, we learn about what is happening around the world so much more readily and easily that it becomes very overwhelming because there's always something. And if you're an empathetic person, it's very difficult to continually have and maintain empathy for things that are ongoing conflict. Um, so yeah, I don't know that I even have a question there, but like I agree, and it sucks. It sucks on like a societal civilization level that we have to keep doing this over
It
and over
does.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. That's one of the ways, or that's one of the things that I see. Another
Hmm.
thing that I see is that our economy is not doing great and everything is more expensive and inflation continues to rise. So are people just not able to
Hmm.
afford the donations that I'm asking them for?
Yeah,
Was it not a good network of people at that time? Was the charity stream not promoted enough? I mean, there are a billion different what ifs, and you can
yeah.
never really pinpoint the actual cause. but I still think it's important because
Yeah.
whether you are raising $10, $100, $1,000, you're still giving money to a nonprofit that didn't have to spend resources to get
Right.
that money. Plus, you're giving them free marketing. Plus, you're giving them hopefully a snowball effect where you inspired someone else to fundraise for them. So it doesn't matter how much money you raise, and I will die on this One Tree Hill. The fact that you are doing the TTRPG charity stream in support of an organization
Yeah.
is the most important thing.
I I agree. And I think that also speaks to the overwhelm that people get when we have all this information of like, well, who I can't do anything. I maybe have $10 I could send. No shit, I'm gonna go get a coffee. But that especially many of the smaller to mid-sized organizations, $10 does go a long way. Um,
Hmm.
so listeners, if you have $10,
Go
what are
and
you
buy the
doing
no
with
ice.
it?
Go and buy the No Ice in Minnesota charity
Go buy the
bundle.
No Ice in Minnesota bundle.
Heyo.
Um, uh, before we ask kind of one of the most important questions, I'm like, I had one that I was noodling on a little bit, which is kind of, I imagine after this many years, you have a extensive and fun Rolodex of people to call on for the charity streams and probably new ones. And I think I'm curious a little bit about your casting process, if you'd like to share, whether it's I know I'm going to do a thing that is going to be for the Trans Lifeline. I want this kind of people, or these four specific people, or I'm going to cold reach out to these 6 people that I know about in the space that I've never played with before, or
Yeah.
variations.
So I think that the casting has changed a lot since I started in 2021.
Hmm.
For the better, for sure.
Sure.
It was a lot more cold reaching out because I didn't have that many contacts in the TTRPG space. Now it might it, it might feel. I don't even think it feels like a cold outreach if I haven't
Hmm.
played with them before, but if we've interacted together on one of the many various
Yeah.
platforms, or if I've seen them play, I don't know. I don't, just like my day job of
Sure.
stretching out my hand and saying, will you give me money? I am very fine with outreaching my hand and saying, will you join this TTRPG charity stream? Um, I think it's less for me about, I have this Trans Lifeline charity stream coming up. I think that these people would be really good for that.
Mm.
Um, because and I guess the reasoning for that is I'm not asking people to play with if I don't think that they agree with all my values. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Sure.
I have very hard lines that I share at the top of every session zero. If I think that maybe you are going to call someone an F slur in your day to day life and you're not queer, I'm not inviting you to play
Hmm.
with me because you're a gross
Yeah.
person. But think it's more along the lines of I have this really long list of people that I've seen their performances, and I think that they would be a good fit for the channel. And I
Hmm.
kind of go through it. That sounds really creepy every time I say that out loud, but like it's legitimate. How
Well,
else am I
it's
supposed to
it's
organize it
the
all?
job of a casting director, and as the one person operation, you have to be the casting director and the producer and like all the many jobs that we've talked about. But someone has to be the arbiter of. It's not the arbiter of taste, but the arbiter of like who's at the table, and
Mhm.
if it's your stream, I don't. To me, that sounds like doing your research more than being creepy about it.
Yeah. Okay. I like where your head's at, Colin.
Yeah.
So all of my charity streams tend to be a little bit more lighthearted. There might
Hmm.
be horror elements, there might be some sad elements, but oftentimes the thing that we are raising money for is already sad enough.
Hmm.
And also, I
That's
don't love
real.
playing in sad games. I'm going to
Yeah.
be straight up honest. I cry enough on my own. I don't need people to be watching me.
I got enough big feelings. I don't need
Uh-huh.
imaginary big feelings too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
100%.
so I try to pair up people that I think would be a good fit together. And of course, I might ask so and so, and they're not able to play. And then
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, but I can always ask them again at a later time. But I like trying to pair people who I
Hmm.
think would be able to tell that kind of a story together.
Yeah.
And session zeros are like non-negotiable. And I think you get like a read of, do these people that I think mesh, are they actually going to mesh?
Yeah.
There have been very few times where a cast couldn't physically get on like a call together. And so we still do like something that's text based, because I've got a lot of information that I need to share
Yeah.
because I'm the person putting it on, but then also the DM, and just getting everyone together and on the same page is incredibly important.
Hmm.
So I don't know, it's a little bit
Yeah.
of a lot of things.
I'm sure.
And I
Yeah.
don't, yeah, I just ask.
I was mostly curious, and again, I just, because I imagine after so many years in the space, and being both a prominent voice for charitable giving among the space, and being a fairly prominent online voice, that you just have such a nice Rolodex to draw from, as well as as well as this list of people that you've seen and admired something that they've done in their
Well,
work.
Colin, the
Mm.
list is like an accordion, because it
Hmm.
gets smaller
Uh-huh.
and then it gets larger and then it gets a little bit smaller and then more large, because
Uh-huh.
I like casts of 6.
Yeah.
I personally do not DM. It stresses me out DMing in front of people.
Honestly, given that you've got enough other things going on, I would be amazed if you did.
Yeah, that too. And so I've always got one spot open for the DM and then 4 additional player spots. So that's only 5 people that I
Hmm.
can ask to be on a charity stream. If I've never played with someone, or if I've never played with most of the people, sometimes I like to have a comfort person, just to be
Hmm.
like, okay, I
Yeah,
know this person really
sure.
well because I've never interacted with the other people. So like, at most, I get to take 5 people off
Yeah,
that list per month.
yeah.
And so it's a lot, but it's also really good work, and it
Hmm.
feels good knowing that people want to work with me and that they want to
Yeah,
donate their time, talents, and efforts to make a difference in the lives of people that are affected by this particular
yeah,
cause. So that's a really
yeah.
cool grounding feeling.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I think I had half a thought, just which is about connecting something you said earlier about people that don't have session zeros, and the utter importance that it is when you're going to be streaming something with people and raising money to have one. Um, I've been thinking, just like I also think this is this session. The idea of session zero is a relatively new one that I know. My first game of my adult life, we did not have. We just kind of started playing because we were all friends and we assumed that it would be fine. Um, I don't even know that I have a question there. I just think it is there is something interesting to me about the fact that there is kind of the what we could call the right wing of the TTRPG community, and especially the D&D community, that seems to have willfully ignored safety tools that have been developed and kind of popularized in the last, I'm going to call it, 10 years. Um, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just I just think it's kind of interesting that we have these tools and people are like, nah, I'm good.
So I also didn't have a session zero. I mean, none of us knew how to
Yeah.
play D&D,
No,
including the dungeon
totally.
master. And I think it's interesting with friends because you I know a lot of people will be like, well, I already know all of the things that my friends wouldn't want to talk about. And it's like, okay, well, did you know actually that they're fucking deadly terrified of getting something poked into their eye? No, probably not, because
Yeah,
it's
doesn't
never
really come
come
up.
up. And so not having the like X card involved, I don't know, it just, ugh, it makes me feel gross.
It's
So
one of the things, it makes me feel gross kind of like retroactively. Like now that I know that these things exist, I'm like, oh God, we really, huh. And I also think about a couple game like I'm gonna say I found Monster Hearts 2 at a amazing little punk game store in Portland. Those that don't know, this is a game where it's basically you are Buffy or teen versions of the supernatural characters, and every playbook, every archetype has a sex move. It is explicitly a game about like weird monster teenagers dating, sleeping together, whatever, having intense emotional bonds and trauma in high school. And I read it and I'm like, this is so good. And I would never, ever, ever play this without a session zero and without like not with people that I don't trust implicitly. Because it has so much potential to be really messy and upsetting and wrong feeling.
yeah.
Um,
Ugh. Yeah,
yeah.
that one I feel like I would want like a nice long session zero too.
Yeah.
But like for like run of the mill adventures,
Hmm.
even just like 2 minutes checking in, hey,
Yeah.
you guys, is there anything like here are some potential content warnings? Everyone
Hmm.
cool with that? Yes. Does anyone have anything that they definitely don't want to come up? No, we're all good. Everyone feels comfortable just saying, hey, can we stop for a second? Yes.
Hmm.
Start the game. It's
Yeah.
literally as simple as that. And it just is mind boggling that because you have fucking feelings, we're not gonna play like that.
Uh-huh. It's yeah, it's a whole fucking thing.
Mhm.
But you know, many of us now know better and have learned and adapted.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Well, Jess, on that note, I think it is time to ask the most important question. Jess, what are your favorite character classes and subclasses? Uh,
Um,
Canon D&D accepted, non-canon D&D, or other games accepted as well. I just might have questions.
okay. Can I expand on the question then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Tiefling Bard. I'm bisexual. I am currently sitting bisexually in my chair. So, what are you going to do?
Uh-huh. Yep.
I also love playing a druid who is not in tune with nature. I think it's just so much fun. A druid that doesn't like shifting, a druid that's like, ugh, being outdoors, no.
Yeah.
I think it's so much fun to just play, honestly, any class against type.
Mm-hmm.
And then Underground Oracle created the Eloin race, which is a moth person. And
Mm.
I fucks with Mothman heavy. So I have played
I
Mothman, I
mean,
have
let's
played
be real,
Mothboy,
Mothman fucks.
Mothman fucks. And I love that race so much. It's
Mm-hmm.
so much fun. Being a moth person is great. Canonically, all of my moth people scream for fun. And
That
so
sounds
that's
right.
always it doesn't sound great. It sounds really bad actually when I do it, but it is very fun.
Yeah.
So those are my tops.
Yeah, yeah. Outstanding answers. I really love the against types just gives me so much joy. Gonna bring back our dear friend Kitty Stryker brought up the dad bard who is actually really bad at singing and fails upward, and his bardic inspiration is everyone feeling sad about how pathetic and loser like he is.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be that it wasn't songs, it was just dad jokes, but that's even
Oh
better.
God. I mean, both of these things, right? And I think this is one of the things that I love about. I'm going to say that as you play more D&D, starting to play against those archetypes, I think that the low hanging fruit is the ranger with an animal companion who is obviously Aragorn, except we're not going to call him that. And then you're like, but what if I'm a ranger that actually lives in a city, goes on a walk once a fortnight, and has never smelt a flower?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. And finding the ways you can lean into the class, what the class does and its features, while still really playing the character against that type.
I love that.
Um, yeah, that is so cool. Um, Jess, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of what is like an incredibly busy last bit of day before the bundle goes live. We will, of course, have all the links and notes, but where can people find the bundle? Where can people find you online if they would like to know more about your work and what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can find the bundle on Itch.io. If you go to your Google machine and type No Ice in Minnesota Charity Bundle, you are sure to find a link that takes you to where it needs to be, or where you need to be, I should say. You can find me all over the internet at Jes the Human. That is Jes with one S. If you want to like read my good mornings, you can do that on Blue Sky and Threads. If you want to see my good mornings, you can see them on like YouTube Shorts or Reels on Instagram. You can also keep up with my charity work at TTRPGs.substack.com. That is my free newsletter where I talk about all of the upcoming charitable works I have going on. Most notably, and most frequently, you'll see my TTRPG charity streams, but you'll also know when I have a TTRPG raffle coming up, a bundle, if I'm doing an auction. If you want to be notified about when I have bundles coming up, I have a specific newsletter that's tied to the charity TTRPGs where I literally only email you when I have a bundle coming up. So there's definitely ways to find that information out. Otherwise, I don't know.
I'm going to ask this question with great care. When do you sleep?
I sleep between the hours of 9:30 and 6 a.m. 9:30
Very
p.m.
specific answer to which I love.
We started this Zoom meeting call with me saying that I wake up at 6 o'clock every morning. That's because I trained myself to do so. I like having time to myself in the mornings, and whether that's, getting on and learning how to use Twine to create an interactive text-based game, which I'm currently doing. I don't know why I started doing that. It's gonna be called Itch.io Charity Bundles the Game because
I can't wait. Oh my God, I'm playing it as soon as it's available.
I decided, why not make yet another way for people to learn how to make their own Itch.io charity bundle? So whether it's doing that or going to the gym or just having time to like sit and do nothing, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. is my time. So because I wake up so goddamn early, I go to bed so goddamn early, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough. Listeners, go buy the No Ice in Minnesota bundle. Follow Jes, support their work because it's important. If you like what we're doing, you can find the show online at the Roll Report Cast on the social medias that we actually use. And if you really love what we're doing, you can always support us at patreon.com/the Roll Report for as little as $1 a month. But honestly, if I'm being real, that $1 should probably go to the No Ice in Minnesota bundle. I'm just saying, I don't know. Jes, thank you once more. Is such a treat to get to talk to you, and I super appreciate you taking the time to join us. So thank you.
Hell yeah. Thank you for having me, and good morning to everyone who listened, and to them only.
And to you only. We will see you next time, listeners. Thank you for joining us. Roll some dice and support some charity streams.
Hell yeah.